Step 1. 2. I'll bend it like this. 3. Keep your head up, looking at the roof. Do it slowly. 4. Looking at the back wall, looking at your feet. 5. Bringing your body down. Make sure your 5 limbs are only touching. Your stomach is not touching the floor. 6. Looking up, breathing, inhaling. Keep inhaling. Coming back onto the older posture, exhaling. Bringing left foot between the 2 hands. The right foot between the 2 hands. Inhaling and coming back onto the backward stretch. Coming back onto the Namaskar position. So this is very good. The Surya Namaskar stretches nearly all of your organs and the limbs of the body. It's very good to do in the morning time, and it's advisable to do it before eating anything, or if you want to do it in the evening, give it like 3-4 hours before going for it, so that your body, it's suitable, it's good for doing it. We'll start with the second round. Onto the right leg now. The right leg this time. Your head should be going up. The left leg now. Going down. Inhaling, putting your forward body up in Bhujangasana. Feet coming back up. Bringing your right leg between the 2 hands. With your neck looking up. The other leg between the 2 hands. Inhaling, going for a backward stretch. Coming back to the Namaskar position. Keep your eyes closed, just relax. So that you can relax mentally and physically. We'll start with the third stretch. Step 1, going back. Inhaling. Exhaling, coming down slowly. Going back your left leg. Getting the right leg. Looking at the back of the wall, bringing your whole body down. Make sure your stomach is not touching and you're looking forward. Your chin is touching the mat. Coming to the Bhujangasana with the inhale, deep inhale. Coming back. Your left leg between the 2 hands. Right leg between the 2 hands. Exhaling. Coming back. Backward stretch. Inhaling, deep inhale. Namaskar position. So now I'll go on to the steps and I'll just watch you, try to correct you. So you can go for the set 4. Step 1, take a backward stretch. Take a backward stretch. Make sure your hands are joined. Your hands should be joined. It should be in the Namaskar position, yeah. Coming down, step 2. Trying to touch the floor, however it's possible. Need not to stretch over. Take a right leg back, third step. Keep looking at the roof of the room. Fourth step, get the other leg down. Looking towards the back of the room. Bringing your whole body down, next step, fifth step. Make sure your stomach is not touching the floor. And chin, you're looking forward with the chin. Next step, coming onto the Bhujangasana with a deep inhale, looking at the roof of the room. Next step, coming on, looking at the floor, back room. Next step, coming your right leg onto that. Next step, exhaling and coming up. Last step, coming onto the backward bend. Don't overstretch, whatever is comfortable for you. Coming back to the Namaskar position. Just take a deep breath and relax. Go with another one. Step 1, taking a backward bend, inhaling. Step 2, coming down, trying to touch the floor with your hands. Step 3, take your left leg down. Step 4, take your right leg, looking at the back. Step 6, getting back without touching the stomach onto the floor, looking forward with the chin onto the floor. Next step, inhaling, coming to the Bhujangasana. Next step, bringing your body back, looking at the back of the room. Next step, bringing the left leg in the front. Next step, bringing the right leg in the front between the two hands. Next step, going for a backward bend. Next step, we are going for a Namaskar position. Relax for a second. We'll take a final Namaskar cycle. Take a first step, going up with a backward bend. Concentrate on your breathing. Second step, getting down, touching the floor. Third step, taking the right leg down. Fourth step, looking at the back of the room. Fifth step, bringing your whole body down without touching the stomach on the floor. Sixth, getting into Bhujangasana, deep inhaling. Seventh, coming back, looking at the back of the room. Eighth step, getting your right leg between your two hands. Ninth step, in the two hands. 10th step, going for a backward bend. Going down to the Namaskar position. Now you can all sit down. This is you're going to be doing today's. Just sit down and relax. Close your eyes and just try to absorb. Your body is now prepared to go for the next session for the complete yoga package. Just relax. We'll be starting with the next session in a couple of minutes.
Okay, so we'll do the next session, which is the pranayam, and this is less in terms of bodily movement. This is less active than the first part. So those who are having the back pains and couldn't do the yoga part can join in this part. And so pranayam etymologically means controlling the air. Aya means control. That's why we hear many things like yam, niyam. So that is the control. And pran means air. And first, make sure that you sit straight and keep your spine straight. Because that's a very common problem, especially in the corporate circle, because the computers are bent towards and we kind of bend down, and then our spine, instead of becoming straight, bends. So that's a common problem. So sit straight, and in this exercise, concentrate only on your breathing. No other concentration. Breathe only through your nose, because nostril breathing is always helpful, and no mouth, and no breathing through mouth. Okay, we'll do a couple of exercises, and every time we try to introduce certain subtle variations in those exercises, but all of them are breathing. Some are strong, some are little mellow. So the first exercise is Bhastrika. I would request people to, you can move little forward so that new attendees can join. If you are okay sharing with the mats, that's also fine. So Bhastrika means literally blowing out the air. So here we pump in the air nicely and then pump out. Okay? So first we'll breathe in, and I'll say inhale, then you would like to breathe in, and then I'll count up till 5. So that gives you a timeline how much you are breathing the air inside, and then stop for a while and then breathe out. We'll do first little mellow and then we'll do little strong. Put a little force. And you can sit in any posture, Padmasana, half Padmasana, or whatever you want to feel comfortable. Okay, so let's start. Concentrate only on the breathing part, because that helps connecting with the present, and that's the topic for today, being present. So breathe in, stop for a while, breathe out. Now I'll count till 5 to aid you to have a proper time, stopping time. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. So the next cycle, the same thing which we're doing, but put a little more force, which means you breathe out nice, gallons of air inside your lungs and then pump them out. So like this. You can exert a little more force, okay? Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Last time, breathe in. Breathe out. So in this Bhastrika exercise, we saw that our lungs were being filled up with the air. So the chest portion expands when you breathe in. The next exercise which we'll do is Kapalbhati, which literally means your forehead becomes effulgent. So immediately you may not see it, but it actually means the intellect brightens, because the negativity get pumped out from your system. Be it gross negativity in the form of toxins, or the subtle energies and certain negative and not so useful thoughts inside our cerebral system. So Kapalbhati, we do not stress anything on breathing in, which is quite natural. We just breathe out. So the forceful inhalation which you did in the Bhastrika, here it turns into forceful exhalation. You just breathe in and then you breathe out. So when you breathe out, naturally your belly is sucked in, right? Notice that it is because of the breathing out procedure that the belly is going in. You should not try to make an effort so that the belly goes in. Okay? And don't try to inhale while exhaling out. Okay? So I'll just demonstrate it. And first, you have to sit straight. Don't put any strain, especially on the shoulders and the neck region, because whole week we are putting a lot of strain here. So at least for the 5 minutes we can relax them. And you can concentrate only on the breathing part. So first you breathe in. So the belly going in is natural. You don't have to exert any which some people are doing, but that is fine. We'll repeat this exercise a couple of times, and if you have any questions, you can stop me in the middle or after the cycle. So breathe in, breathe out. You can continue as long as the air gets finished in your lungs. This may not be technically correct, but for all practical purposes. Breathe in. Breathe out. And it is good to do at your own pace. If you feel it slowly, you can do slowly. Breathe in, breathe out. If you do slowly, maybe you can sustain your stamina for a little more while, but it varies from person to person. So we'll do last couple of times more. Breathe in, breathe out. Last time, take a nice full breath. This time forcefully breathe out. So this also depends on the practice. You can do 2 minutes every day in the morning in fresh air. And gradually as you'll do, you'll see your stamina improving. And I see many folks who are attending, their way of doing is also getting better. So this is also part of the practice. So the last exercise which we'll do is Bhramari. Next session I'll introduce some other variations. So we'll do the basic one only today. So Bhramari means like a bee, and we make a high-pitched sound I was not stressing on the high pitched sound in the last 2 sessions, but try to make a high pitched sound. And what we do is we first inhale nice gallons of air inside your lungs, and while exhaling out, we make the sound. And all the while concentrate on your cerebral sphere here on this side. The main motive is to create a vacuum in this region, and the elimination of the toxins and negativities. These all 3 exercises follow in the same light of pranayama. So let's do that. First we breathe in, and then while we breathe out, we have to make this bee-like sound. Okay? So first inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Try to concentrate only on breathing out and on the sound. That will help you to be at the present. Just concentrate on the sound vibration. Breathe in, and a high-pitched sound. Start. So notice that the quality of the sound, there was a multifold increase, because when we kind of concentrated, we are more in the present, we are more focused, and then there is a feedback, the sound is better. So maybe we can do it for a couple of more times. Breathe in, breathe out. Last time, breathe in, breathe out. So that ends the pranayam section. We'll move to the next part, and while it is going on, we'll pass certain notes and pencils also. So our volunteers will do that. Thank you.
We'll take the question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming to Complete Yoga program at ISKCON Silicon Valley. We have just covered Surya Namaskar, that is sun salutation, which keeps the body flexible and it exercises the whole body, and the pranayam, which keeps the mind calm and focused, which is very good for meditation. So now, before we go to the actual guided meditation, we'll have a presentation on the topic being in the present moment, and His Grace Satyadev Prabhu is going to basically lead us and discuss about the topic. I'll just give a short introduction about who is Satyadev Prabhu. He was born and raised in San Francisco area, and he has served as paramedic and a firefighter in the service of firefighter and paramedic service for almost 20 years. And he has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for almost more than 40 years right now. He met A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON movement, in 1970 in Tokyo, Japan. And that is where he took initiation. He accepted him as a spiritual master, and he took initiation from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He conducts many yoga meditation seminars in Japan as well as here in the center, ISKCON Silicon Valley. So very fortunate to have Satyadev Prabhu. Please welcome Satyadev Prabhu with a big hand. And also Shishi Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. So everyone can face the deities and the speaker. Satyadev will be sitting on the table here, chair. Okay. And he can use the board for any presentations.
Did you give them any kind of handout?
Yes, we are just passing. We'll just pass the handouts as you're sitting here.
That's what I wrote.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for having me here. Can everybody hear my voice? Yes? Okay. I also practice the Surya Namaskar every morning and do some pranayama before I sit down to meditate. What we're going to talk about tonight is being present. And how many of you are familiar with the concept of being present? I just want to... Yeah. Do any of you intentionally practice being present? Yeah? Now, how many of you maybe don't consider yourself familiar with the concept of being present, but you've heard about it? Yeah. Has anybody here read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? Yeah. He's made it very popular. Although the concept of being present is very much part of the yoga ladder, and very much part of being of meditation. And have any of you heard? When I was most of you aren't my age, but in the 60s, in the 60s is the first time I heard about the concept of being present. Have any of you heard of Ram Dass? He's a Western disciple of Neem Karoli Baba, and he's a pretty famous speaker, and he wrote a book called Be Here and Now. So I never read the book, but if you grew up in the 60s in San Francisco area, a lot of the communes and different groups getting together, they were talking about this concept of being present. So what I want to talk to you tonight about is what is the state of being present. How being present is not something magical or something that in order to do you have to sit in a cave for 20 years. It's something you can choose to do at any time. As long as you're a human being and you're conscious, you can actually choose to be present. And then being present is also a practice. So we'll talk about these three things. But before that, I just want to talk about how being present is very much part of the yoga system, and it's also part of the bhakti yoga system. I just wrote down a few of the guidelines that we're going to go through here tonight. I think I better keep this on so I see what time it is. So we have until 7:45 and then questions and answers, is that right? Okay. Okay, so in the yoga ladder, which you were doing part of it, the asanas, there, it's called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Jhana, and Samadhi, or living a moral life, non-violent life. Those are the first steps, the foundation of yoga. Then practicing asana, doing the physical poses. Then practicing pranayama. It's not that you do these step by step, you can do them all together. And then pratyahara. Pratyahara means actually bringing your attention to the present moment. And starting to bring your attention inside instead of outside, right? Especially today, we're very much distracted by technology. Everyone's looking at their cell phone and attention's going out, right? And we want to see who we are, we want to wake up to who we are, but if we actually want to see ourselves, then we have to look in our direction, right? If you look into a mirror, or there's a mirror there, if you look into it, you'll see your reflection. If you look this way, you'll never see yourself. Right? It's very logical. So pratyahara, after you've done the asana and the pranayama, you begin to bring your attention to the present so that you can look within. And if you can keep present for 12 seconds, then you're doing concentration or dharana. If you can keep your attention present for 30 seconds, then you're entering the realm of meditation. And if you can be in that state of presence all the time, then you're in samadhi. But believe it or not, when you start to do the yoga asanas, that's where you're actually being introduced to the practice of being present. So just like when you bring your arms up here, when you start to get more deeper into the practice, when you look up to the sky, you're present with the sky, you know. When you're bowing down, you're bowing down to Lord Surya, or Lord Surya Narayan. But you're conscious, you know. When you're looking, if you're focusing your attention here, you're bringing your attention here. So being present means you're consciously, intentionally noticing, where's my attention in this moment? And then directing it to a certain particular location. In terms of the yoga system. Now, in the terms of bhakti yoga, which means the yoga of devotion and love, it means relationship with God, or also relationship with other living beings. So being present in terms of bhakti yoga means being present for Krishna as you're doing devotional service or chanting His holy name. Or in terms of relationships, you know, when I'm here with you and you're here with me, or you're here with someone else, you're giving them your full attention. Isn't that love? What do little children want? Do they want sweet words? They just want your undivided attention, you know. So when we're giving our presence, we're giving ourselves, we're giving our love, and that's the essence of bhakti yoga. So what do we mean by being present? What we mean is that we bring our attention to the present moment, and we're conscious of our experience in this moment. See, if you're not present, you don't actually know your experience in the present moment, right? Just like right now, I'm speaking, but if you're thinking about so many other things, you're not really going to hear what I say, right? Or even if you're eating an ice cream, but you're thinking about what somebody said to you and you're all angry about it, right? Or you're all disturbed, you won't taste the ice cream. So wherever we bring our attention, that's what we'll become conscious of. So if our attention is thinking about the past or the future, absorbed in those thought forms, that will be our experience. But that won't be the experience of the truth, that'll just be the experience of a reflection. Because the pictures in the mind of the past or the future are not real. They are simply pictures of what once was. But because we identify with them, we think they're real and they pretty much rule our life. Anyway, getting off the point a little bit. So being present means just intentionally bringing your attention to the present moment. That's the first step. And the key to being present is to simply notice what's present with you in this moment through your senses. Right? But you intentionally do that. Just like right now, you can become present with the earth by feeling the force of gravity, right? Can all of you feel your buttocks on the floor? You feel the pull? Yes. Now, were you noticing the pull of the earth until you put your attention there? No. See, wherever you bring your attention, you'll become conscious of. Right? You can also bring your attention to the sensation of the ambient air. Can you feel the air on your skin? Yes? As soon as you bring your attention there, you feel it. Were you feeling it before? No. Now, we can only be present in the present moment. We can only experience in the present moment. Can you feel your buttocks on the floor yesterday? No. Can you feel it tomorrow? No. You can only feel it now. So you can bring your attention to the present moment anytime you choose to, simply by noticing what's present with you here and now. You can use your eyes. You can notice something present in the room, like the blackboard. Now, this may seem very simple, but the more you do this, let's see, once you've brought your attention to the present moment, then your attention is not in your mind. It's not identified with any thought of the past or the future. And it's just one little shift more to bring your attention directly towards yourself, towards that which knows, towards that which is aware. See? So you can feel the presence of the earth by feeling your buttocks on the floor. Yes? So now your attention is present. Now you just shift slightly and notice that you're present, that you're alive in this moment, that you're conscious. We don't very much actually feel our life. We don't notice it very much. That's why we're suffering. That's why we feel disconnected. That's why we feel incomplete. But in this present moment, when you notice your life, you just take a deep breath, and just notice you're alive and you're aware in this moment. In this moment, without going into the past or the future, is there any problem in this moment? Don't you just feel complete? Don't you feel joyful to be alive? So the beginning of meditation is actually just to be in that state, to just be noticing that I'm alive, that I'm aware, without thinking about it. It's just the direct experience. See, our sensual experience is direct. There's no effort. The mind quickly gets involved, and we'll talk about that. But just like right now, you can all see my face, right? Does it take any effort? Do you have to think about it? No. Now, once you start to look at my face, your mind may kick in and say, oh, he looks like a Westerner, he's probably 60 years old, you know. So many rapid thinking like that. But the direct experience of awareness doesn't require the mind. It's knowing before thinking. It's very subtle, it's very quick. And at first we may not be that aware of it, but the more you bring your attention to the present moment and notice your awareness, the more you start to see very clearly the distinction between yourself, the awareness, that which is existing, and that which is thinking. Eckhart Tolle calls this watching the thinker, knowing the thinker. So you can actually watch your mind think and be aware of yourself watching it. Yeah. But we cannot notice our awareness as long as we're thinking. It gets obscured. And when we're absorbed in thinking, then we don't feel our life, and then we feel disconnected. Then we feel lonely. Then we feel unsatisfied. So the first step is to choose to bring your attention to the present moment just by noticing where your attention is and bringing it to something that's with you in this moment. Then shifting slightly and just taking a moment to feel your life, to notice that you're aware in this moment, that you're alive. Not by thinking about it, just by noticing it, just like you notice my face. So let's just do that for a second. Feel the floor. Now notice your breath. The breath is the perfect place to put your attention because it never leaves you. It's always here with you. It's always here now. And it's very much connected to the mind and the body. Mind and body are actually one. They're not separate. And we can use the body to transcend the mind, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. But just notice your breath and notice the feeling of the air moving in and out of your nostrils. And simultaneously feel how you're alive in this moment. Just notice you're aware, you're experiencing. Very simple. No thinking required. Sometimes we think that in order to notice that I'm alive, I have to think about it. And immediately we lose it. So, being present is the state of intentionally bringing your attention to the present moment by noticing you're experiencing this moment, and then noticing your awareness, becoming conscious of awareness. Right? Feel your left hand for a second. Can everyone feel your left hand? You don't have to move it. You just put your attention to your left hand, and don't you feel sensation in your left hand? Is there anybody who cannot feel their left hand? And were you feeling your left hand before you put your attention there? No. But as soon as you put your attention there, you feel your left hand. It's direct. No thinking required. You know it. You know the sensation. What knows? That which is alive, that which is aware. That awareness is always here, always now. It doesn't come or go. Thoughts come and go. Sensations come and go. But the awareness is always here. We just don't notice it. So being present is the act of bringing your attention to the present moment, noticing where your attention is, bringing it to the present, and then noticing that which is aware, that which is knowing, that which is alive. That's the focus of meditation. But we can bring it any time. We can become present. We don't have to sit for hours in meditation. Any moment you can make a choice to bring your attention to the present moment as you're walking, feeling the steps. When you go to wash your hands, to feel the water. To look at the trees, to take a deep breath. You just bring your attention out of the past, out of the future. But it's a conscious choice that you can make any time. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be present 24 hours a day. Just if you make this choice many times a day, whenever you remember to, even if it's just for a few seconds, you will grow, you'll become more and more aware of your consciousness. And you'll be able to feel it. And then you'll get to a point where you can bring your attention like to a blackboard, right? Everyone put your attention on the blackboard. Or actually, let's look at the flowers here. So just notice the flowers. And notice the flowers have existence, right? Why would Krishna create flowers? It's just an exhibition of his artistic talents. There's no other reason. But anyway, we see the flowers have existence, and then we notice I also have existence, and there's existence. And even subtler, on a subtler level, we not only feel our existence, as soon as we feel our existence, we feel connection with everything that exists. And with the source of that existence. Just by being present. The more we bring our attention to the present moment, this may sound a little esoteric right now, but if you practice bringing your attention to the present moment and you notice your existence, you'll feel a relationship with everything that exists. You'll begin to feel God within everything. Even if you don't sit for, 20 years in a cave. Now, if you're practicing yoga and you're sitting down and intentionally meditating, That's really good. But even if you don't do that, if you just make the choice to be present many times throughout the day, that is the doorway to awakening. Now if you bring that conscious presence into your relationships, then relationships also begin to flower and go much more smoothly. Okay, so we talked about what is the concept of being present, what does it mean? Is that clear? Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's a choice that any human being can make. I don't know about the animals, but every human being has the capacity for self-awareness. That means we can actually watch what we're doing. We can watch the mind, we can watch the body, because we're not it. We're that which is aware of it, right? But normally we don't notice it because we're absorbed in thinking about the past or the future. So, that's the next part. Being present is a conscious choice, but to remain present, that is a practice and a process of awakening. And so, what is it that makes it difficult to remain present even when we're consciously choosing to be present? What is it that yanks our attention back into the mind, back into lamenting about the past, right? How many of you regret things that happened in the past and constantly think about them? I should have done that, or it should have went like this. I know I do. Yeah. And then, don't we imagine the future based on what happened to us in the past? Either things didn't go the way we wanted, so we're hoping, we start thinking about the future, that in the future it will happen like this, or things didn't go the way we want to, and then we're worried that, oh God, it's going to happen again. But either way, we're not present, we're not noticing our life in this moment. And basically, what our state of consciousness is in this moment is actually going to determine the future. Because if we're constantly meditating on the past, we're just going to recreate it. Because mind is very powerful. Anyway, so basically, ego attachment aversion, hope I spelled this right, and emotional trauma. So just let me briefly explain these a little bit, and then how they tend to pull our attention, our conscious attention, into the past or into the future, into the mind, into the world of thinking. Well, one thing I want to go over first. I jumped ahead a little bit. This is very important, I've found. I've been practicing presence for many years. And in the beginning I was sort of unclear about what it meant to be present and why I was choosing to be present. It's very important to be clear about why we're choosing to be present. In the beginning we may be choosing to be present because we want to escape the mind or because we want liberation. But the real reason we should choose to be present is because the present moment is what's real. We have to become very convinced of that by our direct experience, not just intellectually, not on the level of faith and devotion, but we have to see for ourselves that it's only in this moment we can live. That the past is not real because it's just an image. And so what we do is we call the present moment the truth of life. It's only in this moment that you can experience your life. That's the only place you'll find, that we'll find, completeness and satisfaction. That's the only place where we can feel connection with God and with others. We can't experience that in the mind. It's not real. It's just an image. So we're choosing the present moment because it's the truth of life. That can become your mantra. I'm choosing the present moment because it's the truth of life. And you're here to see that is true by your own experience. So that's why, when we're reveling in the past or, obsessing about the future, that we notice it, right? We notice, here I am thinking. No need to judge yourself because that will become more mind, but you just notice, right? How many of you have driven down the road 20 miles and then wondered how you got to your destination because you were thinking so much? Have you ever had that experience? And you did notice that you were thinking so much, right? Right? Well, who noticed that? What is it that noticed that? It wasn't the thinking, the consciousness, yeah. So, as soon as we notice that, then we go, oh yes, let me bring myself to the attention, to the present. Let me feel my life in this moment. So that should be our motivation, not for any other reason. Because that's the truth. That's the truth of life. So, the ego, when I say the ego here, what I mean is not our essential awareness that I am. The ego is the person we imagine ourselves to be. Right? It's the one who has the name. Like Santi. See, when you were born, when you were in the womb, did you have a name? No, it was given to you. But you existed before. See, we're not our name. We're not our past. In the present moment, the past doesn't exist. You're fresh. Everything that happened to you doesn't matter. It's not you. And in fact, in the present moment, there's no ego. Now that freaks the ego out. So even though the ego is not alive, it's kind of like artificial intelligence. It's almost alive. Patanjali, he gives a great example in the Yoga Sutras. He says the mind, or he calls it the chitta, which is the ahamkara, the ego, the mind or the manas, the mental impressions, and the buddhi, or the intelligence that based on the ego makes decisions. He says all of these appear to be alive. They appear to be real, but they're only reflecting the consciousness. Just like if you shine a flashlight into the mirror, the light will be reflected, but the mirror itself has no light. Yeah? So the mind and the ego and the intelligence really has no light, it has no consciousness, but the consciousness is absorbed in there. Just like when you go to a movie, right? When we watch the movie, what's the first thing that happens to us when we watch a movie? What's that?
We are in illusion that it is real.
Yeah, we think the movie is real, but you know the first thing that happens to us? We forget we're watching the movie. Isn't it? Our consciousness has descended. We've gone to a lower level of consciousness. At that point, we're unaware of ourselves, aren't we? We're so absorbed in the movie that we think the movie is real. We become the characters. If the heroine is laughing, we're laughing. If she's sad, we're sad. If she's afraid, we're afraid. And then we walk out of the movie and it takes, 5-10 minutes to remember who we are. It's totally, our consciousness is descended. So being aware, being present is a higher level of consciousness. So the ego, when we're present, there's no ego. In order for you to find who you imagine yourself to be, you actually have to go into memory. And if you don't believe me, check it out. Who are you in this moment? Don't you have to think about it first? Don't you have to remember, my name, I'm I'm from here, I'm this, I'm that. I do this, I did that. It's all images. And that's the ego. And it's developed since we were children, and it even goes with us life after life. But each life it becomes a new person, like a new actor, right? New drama to play. But it's built up, and it's this reactive pattern. So when we bring ourselves to the present moment intentionally, at first it feels like it's dying. Because this is the part of us that's afraid of dying. If you're absolutely present in this moment, go ahead and feel your butt on the floor. And then notice your existence. When we're present, there's no fear of death. There's awareness of existence. The ego is actually very afraid of dying. And when we bring our attention consciously to the present moment as a practice, at first it will resist. And you can watch it. You'll see it and you'll start to laugh. And then it's not our enemy. We can't fight it. But eventually when we become present enough, it starts to feel secure. We need the ego. We need the ego. It's our friend in a sense. We can't function in this world without the ego. Otherwise, if somebody asks you your name, you'll say, let me check. Oh yeah, there I am. Okay, Anyway, so just be aware of that. Not to struggle with it, but just to bring it into the light of awareness. Notice when you intentionally bring yourself to the present, there may be your mind may just be flying off into something. Well, then the ego's doing that. Now, we all have these attachments and aversions, right? We like this, we don't like that. And they're very strong mental patterns. And all we have to do when we're choosing to be present or when we're meditating is to bring our attention to that sense of liking or disliking. Think of a time, how are we doing for time here? Think of a time where you made a really bad mistake. Is there anyone here who's never made a really bad mistake they don't regret? So see if you can bring up that memory, just for a moment. And you didn't like what happened, right? You wished maybe you didn't make that choice, but you can't change it. So, like I said before, the body and mind are one. The ego, it interprets the events, right? Just like if somebody praises you when you walk in the room, you smile, right? And you feel good. Your body will feel expansive. If somebody criticizes you when you come in the room, they don't smile at you, they neglect you, you start to feel down. But you'll feel it in the body too. There'll be a sensation of either expansion or contraction. It's just a sensation, expansion or contraction. Then the mind feels that feeling and reacts to it and becomes this vicious circle. The ego generates the feeling goes in the mind, into the body. The ego notices it, goes back to the ego as confirmation that its creation is real. And anyway, this way we become stuck. Anyway, what we need to do is bring our attention to the level of sensation. This way we can face our attachments and aversions, and when we efface them and we bring them into the light of awareness, that energy becomes released. And we become free of that previously unconscious acting and reacting. So right now our attachments and aversions pretty much they're going on unconsciously. The mind and the body are constantly reacting. So when we're present, especially when we're just sitting, these things tend to come up more. We start to notice them more. Because usually we're distracted so much that even if we're feeling lousy, we don't notice it. Even if we get a feeling of dislike or like, we're so distracted The reaction's going on, but we're not aware of it. So we want to bring it into the light of awareness without reacting. All throughout the Gita, Krishna is talking about how important it is for us to become equal to happiness and distress. It doesn't mean that we don't feel happiness and distress. It just means that we don't get fooled by it anymore, by the reaction that's going on in the mind and the body, that we just allow it to be there and run its course instead of unconsciously reacting. We'll feel this sensation in the body, but now we're watching it and allowing it to be there consciously. And then emotional trauma. So, especially from the time we were young, our parents, our teachers, our friends really weren't present for us. Even though they tried to be, they weren't even present for themselves. And we didn't get what we wanted, or we got what we didn't want. And over time, a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, a lot of unfulfilled need, a lot of fear, these energies build up. And that energy, when it's not expressed and when it becomes repressed, it lodges into the physical body and the subtle mind, especially within the body. So when you're doing, pranayamas like Kapalbhati, and even the yoga asanas, externally it causes a lot of this emotional energy to be released, and it clears the energy pathways in the body. So you could say that the physical yoga is like purifying you from the outside in. But choosing to be present is more, and meditation is purification from the inside out. So when you're sitting, or when you're being present, sometimes emotional trauma will come up. Maybe something insignificant causes you to feel very angry. Do you ever have this experience that some small thing suddenly generates a lot of anger? Have you ever had that experience? You wonder, where is all this coming from? Well, it's not just coming from that one incident. We have a reservoir of pain built up within the physical and mental body. And every now and then it raises its head. And for some people it's 100% of the time going on. Some people not so much. But every now and then it may raise. So what do we do when we're feeling intense anger, or intense hurt, or fear, or sadness? What we do is we bring our full attention to it. We bring our presence. We become present with it intentionally. We choose to be with that energy of sadness, that energy of emotion of sadness or anger, and we allow ourselves to feel it in the body. And you bring your attention to your breath. Become present. Notice your breath, and then notice more. Instead of getting lost in the story about why you're angry, or why you're feeling hurt, or why you're afraid, just bring your attention consciously to whatever sensation is there within the body. You may feel it in the shoulders or in the head, or you may even feel it kind of outside your body, but you'll feel this contracting discomfort that you want to get away from, which is suppression. That's our habit, is to suppress it or to distract ourselves away from it. So what that does is it keeps it right there, and it will build up every time we do that. But if you bring your attention to it and you allow it to be there without resistance, without identification with it, and allow yourself to be there with the discomfort, then in time gradually it begins to dissipate. And now you've begun the process of what's called a ratification, or freedom, a karma. Every time we react unconsciously to our pain, to our likes and dislikes, we multiply them. And in this way we stay identified with the mind. Even if we're doing so-called spiritual practices, if unconsciously we're continuing this pattern of reaction to our traumas, to our attachments and aversions, we'll keep repeating them, we'll keep suffering, we'll keep identified with the mind. But when you bring your attention to the present moment, now you can observe it. Before that, you had no hope. You had no way of real purification. Because we're the captain of our ship. Wherever we put our attention, no one controls that, not even God. That's our God-given free will. Wherever we put our attention, that's totally under our control and will always be so. So that much is our responsibility. Where is our attention going to be? So, if emotional trauma raises its head, if you want to become free of it, then be present with it and allow it to be there. And you'll think, wow, I've been present with this for 10 minutes, it's still there. When's it going to go away? That's resistance. So you just notice that thought, and then just keep breathing, keep being there with it. Nothing in the mind or the body stays forever. Even the most terrible things, even the things you want, you can't hold it. It's going to move. Emotion means energy and motion. So thoughts are constantly changing, sensations are constantly changing, but the awareness in the present moment is always there. So the first step is to choose to be present, and then to allow yourself to be present with whatever's here in the present moment. Even if it's an attachment or aversion or some emotional pain, and watch it pass. And then just notice your awareness, even while the discomfort is there. So again, what we're going to do right now is, I'm just going to bring you through a guided meditation, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers, okay? So remember, the state of meditation is to actually notice your aliveness in this moment. That's the focus. Even when you're chanting a mantra, in devotion, just like, when we're here together, I'm here for you, you're here for me, we have a relationship. You don't forget yourself, do you? You may be paying attention to me, but you're consciously giving your attention to me, and I'm consciously giving my attention to you. There's a relationship. So even when we're chanting Hare Krishna, we can be present and aware that we're the awareness, conscious of the awareness. So first step is to bring your attention to the present moment, then to notice your awareness, and that's the meditation. So what we're going to do is a meditation on the inner energy field, on the field of consciousness within the body. And we're going to feel that, and that's going to be the focus of our attention. Okay, and I'll just guide you through that. So you can do this with eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter, but in the beginning it might be easier to do it with eyes closed. But if you practice this, you can come to a point that no matter where you are, whether your eyes are open or not, you can feel the inner energy field of consciousness within the body and stay centered. So after you get kind of used to doing this with your eyes closed, start to practice it with your eyes open as well. So that it doesn't matter any time, any place, any circumstance, you can be fully awake as a spirit soul. Okay, so for right now, just close your eyes, body straight, and take a deep breath using your diaphragm. Breathe in your nose, and then breathe out. And you can make your breath a little bit forceful for right now. And as you breathe in, notice the feeling of the air moving in your nostrils. Almost flare your nostrils a little bit. And as you breathe out, flare the nostrils. And concentrate on the sensation. Not the image, but just the sensation, the feeling of the air moving in and out your nose. And see if you can keep your attention on the feeling around your nostrils for 3 breaths, which will be about 12 seconds. Then gradually allow your breathing to become normal, but continue to focus on the sensation of the air moving in and out of your nostrils for at least 3 breaths. Just do 3 breaths over and over. And if your attention begins to wander, just notice it. As soon as you notice that you're not present, again you're present. Now not only notice that you're feeling the breath, but notice that you're aware. You're consciously aware of the breath. You're the one who's knowing the breath. There's a sensation of the breath, and then there's the knower of that sensation. Now I'd like you to shift your awareness to your feet. Wherever we bring our attention, we'll become conscious of that. So notice the field of consciousness in your feet. And feel the sensation in your feet for 3 breaths. Now shift your attention to your hands and feel the sensation in your hands. Feel the field of consciousness in your hands for 3 breaths. Now shift your attention to your navel area. Sometimes this is a little more difficult for some people. Let's see if you can feel the sensation of the field of awareness around your navel area for 3 breaths. You're not trying to control your breath, you're just naturally watching it. Now shift your attention to your chest area, right at about the nipple line, your sternum and your heart area. Notice your chest rising and falling. And feel the sensations there for 3 breaths. Feel the field of consciousness at the air level of your chest. Now shift your attention to the top of your head. And just feel the energy field of consciousness at the top of your head for 3 breaths. Now as you breathe in, feel the top of your head. And as you breathe out, bring your attention all the way down to your feet, so that you're scanning the whole body, becoming aware of the field of consciousness as it illuminates the whole body. You breathe in up to the head, breathe out down to the feet. Not trying to visualize, not trying to imagine anything, just noticing sensation. Sensation at the top of the head, at the chest, at the navel, in the hands, in the feet. With each breath up and down. Just sensation and awareness of sensation. Noticing that which is aware. Now bring your attention again to the level of the nose, noticing your breathing, and simultaneously notice sensations all over the body. Feel how consciousness is illuminating the body. Feel your existence in this moment, in the body. We think that awareness depends on the body, but actually the body depends on awareness. And just notice awareness from breath to breath. And if your attention wanders to a sensation or to a thought, just acknowledge it. And come back to the breath and to the knower of the breath. We'll stay present for another 5 minutes or so, just watching the breath and noticing that which is aware of the breath. Use the feeling in the body to keep your attention present. If you can't feel your whole body, then just feel your hands or feel your feet. Or see if you can feel both your arms and your feet. Breath to breath. Just one breath at a time. Now take a deep breath. And take another deep breath. And before you open your eyes, just notice that you're here in this room. Just become aware of where you are. And then gradually open your eyes. And you can rub your hands together if you like and bring that energy around your face. Pat your head. Now, before we go to questions and answers, I just want to teach you what I call it a quick release that you can do many times throughout the day to kind of break your trance of identification with the mind and whatever's going on in the day, where you can just sort of do a quick release. So what I'd like you to do is just stand up for a second. And if any of you've had classes with me before, you've probably learned this, but what I want you to do is take a deep breath in and just raise your arms up and just say, I welcome the present moment. And just feel the expansion and the light. And then bring your arms down and breathe out and say, I release the past and any doubts, any contractions. Okay. Now again, I welcome the present moment. Feel the light and the expansion of this moment. And release the past and any contraction and any doubt. One more time. Welcome the present moment. Feel the light and the expansion. And release the past. Any doubts, any contractions. And then just stay present for a second. Feel the heaviness of your body as it's being drawn to earth. Notice your breath. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin. And make that important little shift in attention and notice that you're alive, that you're aware in this moment. Just noticing, no thinking required. Just instant recognition. I exist. I'm aware. I'm knowing. Okay, good. Thank you. So we have a few minutes for questions or reflections. Something you want to share. Do we have a microphone for everyone? We have microphones for those who have questions or anyone who has a reflection.
Hello. Thank you. It was very good. And I tried this many times before. I did Vipassana meditation and other types of meditations, but when I'm trying to live in present, I feel very restless. I do not know why.
It's just keep it very simple. Don't expect to stay present for long periods of time. And then we get into the mind. We have expectations, right? As soon as we have an expectation of what it's supposed to be present, then we're no longer present, right? It's being filtered by our concepts. Yeah. So the key to being present is just to bring your attention to something that's with you in the present moment. And just practice that. You know, the vipassana meditation is very intense, and it does require a lot of presence. But in order to be present and to awaken, all you need to do is many times a day snap out of this trance we're in and bring your attention to the present moment, just like we did here today, just like right now. You can feel your right hand on the mat, right? Yeah, or you can notice whatever you're seeing. But you just intensely bring your focus to something that's present with you. And just make that your practice. To do that many times a day. And see how that works. Or maybe something else, yes?
Yeah, as a mother and a wife, I need to do multitasking. I feel, as a mother and a wife, I need to do multitasking, but do you think multitasking contradicts with the living in present?
No, not at all. It just requires a little gentle remembering, Just like when with your kids, or when your husband comes home from work, just intentionally give them your full attention for 5 minutes. You just make that decision. I'm going to be completely here for you. And feel, let your body anchor your attention in the present moment. Use the body to keep your attention now, just by feeling it, just like we just did here. That and the intention to be present will awaken you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Bring your attention to it. Bring your full awareness to it. Of course, when you're busy, you're going to get lost in the mind, and so that's why I'm saying 10, 15 times a day, take a present moment break, even if it's just for a few seconds, and let that be your practice. And, an hour in the morning and an hour at night of vipassana maybe is not possible for a busy mother,
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Most of the time I'm not present because I think if I made a decision in the past, I just keep thinking if it was the right decision or not. So I still have that doubt in the mind, right? So how do I get over that?
The mind, the ego has all kinds of reasons that is going to tell you that why bringing your attention to the present moment is not a good thing. You won't be ready for the emergency in the future, and this and this. You'll become less productive. All these things are actually not true. The more we bring our attention to the present moment, the more effective we become at what we're doing. And simply, it's a thought you're having, isn't it? It's just a belief. So you bring it, you just recognize it for what it is. Now that's a thought. And you don't try and suppress that thought. You become very much present with that thought, but now you're the watcher of that thought. When you're the watcher of that thought, it loses its reality. When we begin to watch our thoughts and our beliefs as the watcher, then we break identification and it loses its grip on us, its influence. So we start to see it's not so real. When we believe our thoughts, then that becomes our pattern, and that's our we're stuck in that. So, what's your belief again?
Like say, if I took some decision, right? For example, my only reason of thinking of the past is I don't make any mistakes in the future.
Okay.
So.
So, okay, and that seems logical, right? But when we think about the mistake we made in the past, what are we actually doing? We're holding that memory, that image in our mind, right? And we're focusing all our attention on it. And we're believing in it. And that energy is vibrational. You know, it's an energy, and it's vibrating. And you've heard of resonance, you know, just like in music. You know, if you hit a C note in the guitar here, the C string in the piano will begin to vibrate. You know? So when we're holding the memory of the past, it's a vibration that attracts the same thing to happen again in the future. And the more reality we give our mind, the more creative it becomes, the more it's likely to repeat. Now the thing is, in reality, you know, when we make a mistake, we know it. And we've learned from that. And nothing ever happens exactly as it did before. Everything is always new, with a little twist. Yeah. So you've already learned that. Now, but if you've recognized that I'm holding this memory of the past, at that point you can let it go. Until you recognize it and watch it, you can't let it go. But once you've recognized it, oh, I'm holding this memory from the past. Oh, I'm believing it like this. Once you've accepted that, you're not suppressing it. Now you can choose to, okay, now I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to bring my attention again back to my life in this moment. And that's the practice. And over 1 million times a day, the beliefs and the thoughts are going to arise. There's no need to become concerned, no need to suppress or to resist. That just causes more identification. Just whatever arises, bring it into consciousness by becoming intensely present with it and aware of it. That's what it means to bring it into the light of your awareness. Then that shadow disappears. It doesn't have the hold on it when we're just kind of unconsciously looking at it and believing in it. Just say, oh, I'm having this thought now. So just right now bring up that thought. Maybe you can't, but yeah, it's already gone. But you'll find actually if you do bring up, if the thoughts come up and you become intensely conscious of it and allow it to go, it probably won't come up again because it just sucks the energy out of it. But most of these thoughts are very much energized and solidified in this area. So there's a lot of energy attached to them. But every time you bring it up and you notice whatever the thought is and whatever the energy is attached to it, because you'll probably feel it in the body as you become more in tune with the body. If you bring it into the light of your awareness, that energy is dissipated and the whole structure begins to weaken. And all we have to do is recognize what's there without reacting, but more as an observer. And then just choose for that moment to let it go. At that point, you're not suppressing. Once you've brought something into the light of your awareness, then you have a choice. Oh, I want to keep meditating on this, or would I like to let it go and focus on my life in the present moment? What's real? We're choosing the present moment because it's the truth of life. Not because we're trying to get rid of the mind or even find liberation. We're choosing the present moment because that's what's real. And that's what will actually liberate us, is seeing through the illusion. That's how we see through it. Making that choice over and over again, becoming very aware of what's going on inside here, or inside here, wherever it is. Thank you. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes?
While doing the guided meditation, Sri Govindadas Prabhu also guides us every week, and we do it every week. But I have one doubt. When you say, feel your hands, immediately my mind makes an image of my hands. Am I thinking, am I feeling? I don't understand.
Both. But you're also noticing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's the meditation.
But, yeah, that I am sure that I am in the present moment, whether I'm thinking or I'm feeling. But
okay, so there's a feeling of the hand, then there's the image of your mind of the hand, right? Then there's the person who's knowing that.
Yes.
Right? That's what you want to keep noticing. The images are going to be there, the sensations are going to be there, but we don't usually notice the watcher. And that's the shift we want to make. Once we do bring our attention to the present moment, then we can shift to notice the awareness. Otherwise it's obscured by thinking. So that's, you're on the right track, just make that little shift.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's nice to be present, isn't it? There's someone in the back has a question or a comment.
Prabhuji, I was thinking like from what age we should practice being in present. Like for a child, if we teach how to be present. So what is the ideal age of a child from where he can, taught to be in present?
I'm watching my 2.5-year-old grandson right now with great amazement. Totally present, but unconscious. Yeah, I think probably 7, 8, 9 years old. These practices could be simply introduced. Gosh, I wish I would have started back then. But whenever we begin is good. I think we only can begin when we do begin. And we need some guidance. I know everyone's read The Power of Now, but I've met so many people or taken, 10-day Vipassana courses, etc. So we need some guidance and simple practices to gently help us awaken.
And the following question is like, when this practice of being present is implemented in schools or in the world at large, so what will be the changes in the world? Like how people will, how it will be benefited for human society?
Well, the more present we are, the more we are able to make conscious choices. And for every choice we make, there's consequences. And I know myself, when I look at the mistakes that I've made in my life, because I were making really unconscious, I was making choices without awareness of the consequences. So the more we're present, the more we're aware of that we're responsible actually for our own happiness or distress. So the more we take responsibility for our own feelings and not blame others, the more peaceful we'll become. And ultimately, world peace means individual peace. It's all mathematics, right? So the more each individual becomes responsible for their actions and for their own happiness and their own peace, their own liberation, then the better place the world will become. But, the world is evolving, human consciousness is evolving. Now awareness, living an awakened life is becoming a very common thing, which was very uncommon even 40 years ago when I was, growing up. Things are very much different now, and as a whole, humans are awakening, in my humble opinion, and taking responsibility for their own awakening. Because ultimately, we need our guides, of course, and ultimately everything depends upon the mercy of God, but we have our free will that He's given us, and ultimately our free will is just where we choose to put our attention. And if we put it into the past, we're going to keep repeating it. If we put it into the present moment, we're going to notice what we are in our relationship with God and with all others. And when we awaken to who we are in our relationship with God, then our actions will automatically. We don't have to have 10 commandments, you know what I'm saying? The external rules. But when we awaken internally, naturally, we won't want to cause any harm to anyone else. And whatever suffering we're experiencing, we understand it's coming from our own mind. It's not from our wife or from our husband or from our boss or anything else. It's every time we react with negativity, we'll feel that and notice that. And that's where our sufferings. That famous Greek philosopher, Epictetus, he said that we're not disturbed by what happens to us in our life. You believe that? He says, no, we're disturbed by what we think about what happened to us. We're constantly thinking, this happened, that happened, and then we react negatively to it, and we just stew in our own suffering. So, how we're interpreting events, that's going to generate a feeling, either a discomfort or a comfort. Not anything outside. That's the lesson we're all learning as human beings. And it's perfectly arranged. The environment is friendly, everything is arranged that whatever we do to others, will actually happen to ourselves. We're learning this lesson, some faster than others. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. It was such a joy to be able to share being present with you and being present together. It's much more powerful and easy than on our own, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you.
So let's hear for Satyadev for giving such a nice presentation. Thank you very much for attending this session. I'll just tell the context. We have covered, this is the third session of self-discovery course. We have covered the first session on art of harnessing mind power, and second session that was last week was letting go. So we have covered these two, and today we heard about being in the present moment. So these are the three basic things. Next week we'll have a seminar by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he's the temple president here of ISKCON Silicon Valley, and the topic will be developing gratitude. Like when we are in the present moment, how to live in grace, how to attract the grace of the Lord. That is by developing gratitude, counting our blessings. So that will be the next session. Please come to that session. This is a continuing thread of the self-discovery course. Once we get the basics of this, then we can understand who we are. So after that, the topic is Science of Soul, understanding what is soul and knowing more details about it from Bhagavad Gita. And then the next seminar will be Yoga for Modern Age. What is the chanting of holy names and how to chant and what is the significance of chanting. So we'll discuss that in the next session. At this point, I'll invite the kids, if you can. So as you are attending this seminar, in parallel there are few activities happening for the kids, which includes teaching mridanga, like music, and art and crafts. Please come. So when we were attending the seminar, they were doing few activities, which include learning mridanga, some the yoga. There is some teachers. So I'll just introduce who are the teachers who are teaching to the kids. Can come, Prema. So it's okay. So here's the kids team, and Premalata Mataji, you can come. Premalata Mataji, she's actually teaching the kids. She's coordinating the activities, and we have Sadhana Mataji. She's working in Intel, and she has 3 very nice kids: Kiran and Kiran and Nitasha and Christian. And we have Srijani Mataji. She also had 2 nice daughters. And we have Sailesh Prabhu in the back. He's Mridanga teacher. He has, I think, taught some basic beats today of the Mridanga. They sing also. So that's great. And they have made nice crafts, seems like today. So I'll just hand over to Premlata and tell, what they did today, and if they want to present something for the kids.
Hare Krishna. Today kids were doing very nice, and you can see there were 2 groups, below 6 years one group and above 6 years the other group. For above 6 years, Sadhana Mata and Shailesh Prabhu, they were taking care, and they gave the yoga as well as mridanga classes. At the same time, they are giving a very valuable education to them. So about Krishna and about our epics, all the education they are giving. And for Damodar classmates below 6 years, you can see the crafts, and they were chanting. They are learning rhymes of Krishna rhymes. If you go to the schools, any preschool, they learn about Chubby Chicks, but at the same time, they don't know what is Krishna. In this Chubby Chicks rhyme, they can learn what is Krishna also. So they did very well. They enjoyed the class. Hope as a parents, you can also enjoy after going home. You can ask them what they did. So, Hare Krishna. Now, Sadhana Mata is going to.
So, for the older children, we did a yoga for about 20 minutes, and we really talked about what yoga is not. It's not an exercise only. We talked about the fact that yoga is a connection of the body, the mind, and the breath, and how the breath is so important in yoga. And so, if you ask the child, if you have a child here, ask them to show you, and I think you will learn as well from that. It was wonderful. Then we had the Mridanga class, and thank you to Sailesh Prabhu. He did a wonderful job. It was amazing. We learned the basics for actually singing and playing for Hare Krishna Hare Rama mantra in 20 minutes. It was wonderful. And then after that, we went into story time. We took a little break, and then we had story time. And today's theme was on heroes. And the heroes we talked about was Bhishma, and of course, his wonderful qualities. And we talked about how the qualities of a hero and what it would take them inside. We had a discussion to look at what would make them heroes. What could they do as heroes, And one of them was the strength in understanding, all the knowledge we have. We learn a lot about mathematics and a lot about English and how to write these things. But some things we don't learn about is how to have courage inside. And so we talked about that and how we developed that based on parents and gurus and help. And the last part was learning the second story about Krishna as a dear friend. Krishna as a dearest friend is one of the chapters in the Gita. And in that story, it's about how a friend like that helps us. And they all have an action item to practice when they're in trouble or have a need. They're going to ask Krishna and see what happens. And they're going to tell me next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the kids teachers team. Now there are a few more announcements about the cooks and how the arrangement is next. So Harivansha is going to tell.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming. So before we break for the day, a couple of announcements. So first of all, thanks to the temple management here for bringing this fantastic facility for such an amazing program. This is session 3. And as you could see, there are so many departments here making the program successful. Cooking, organizing, temple cleaning, etc. So if any of the programs have been really beneficial to you, you are most welcome to donate $10, $15. There is no maximum. And this is only a volunteer-based, work, and your donation will be voluntary. So we encourage you because that will help to carry on this program for many months, years, and maybe decades. And you can donate at the box which is kept at the dinner table, and we do accept Visa cards or debit cards. Also, we have passed on these feedback forms, so we'll really appreciate if you fill these and either give it to me or Sri Govind Prabhu. And what we are asking specifically is if you would like to volunteer in any of the activities. As I said, many departments. This is one kids department. There was yoga, cooking, cleaning, and even distribution of the dinner. So in any way, if you would like to be a part of the team, just to volunteer, please contact me or Govind Prabhu, and we'll just find out what's the best match so that you enjoy that as well. And any other questions you have, you can contact myself or Prabhu. So the fun part of the program is being awaited, and that's the dinner. So again, we had a wonderful team. They have been, I think, tirelessly working for many hours, and it was a team of 6, led by Sundarlila Mataji. I think she's not here. Sri Jani Mataji, Reena Mataji, Bharat Prabhu, Shailesh Prabhu, and Shika Mataji. So they have worked tirelessly, and so if you can give a big applause to them. Hari Bol. So the prasadam at the dinner will be the next. Now we'll just wind off, and there will be a Gaur Aarti. Those who want to leave can just proceed out and have the prasadam, but the prasadam will also be there after Gaur Aarti. So there is lots, it won't run out. So thank you very much again.
Thank you very much. So we'll just quickly get up and wind up the yoga seats and put it here, and the singing of the Gaur Aarti is going to start soon.